What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, coach of your Montreal Milotic, bringing you our Week 5 battle for the NCP. Today we are facing off against Faint Attacks and his Star Chews in a game that should be really cool. We have a Coco versus Lele battle, a Tapu versus Tapu showdown. I am really excited for it. But he also has Regieleki, he also has Suicune, Landorus. His team is basically full of legendary Pokemon or Ultra Beasts or whatever the case may be. Very scary team, but hopefully we can get the job done. We are sitting pretty with a 3-1 record. If we win this game, we have to win pretty big, I believe, but we can actually take the first overall seed in the league, which is crazy to think because we do have a loss at this point. But so does Shuckle King. He lost last week against D-Ray, meaning we have a chance to tie him in record and become the first overall team in this league. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Again, as always, guys, I do appreciate you guys subscribe to the channel if you have not already. This game will be a post-com, sadly, but we are going to be getting back to live comp soon enough, so make sure to subscribe to the channel for more, and they will be on cartridge and not on Showdown going forward. After that, I promise, just right now, for the time being, it is going to be on Showdown, and as soon as I can get off of Showdown, believe me, I will. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Looking at his team, the biggest threats are the Lele, the Landorus, the Regieleki is huge, Kartana, and the Darmanitan. Those are the big ones for me. After that, there's really not really many notable threats. They're scary, but not like super threatening. The big ones are those 5 that I mentioned there, and I expect all of them to be coming to this game. Our Cocos here at speed for the Kartana. We take a modest Specs Rising Voltage in terrain from the Regieleki, just in case he wants to run a Specs Regieleki and he has Rising Voltage, and he tries to use our terrain against us. We have our Electric Terrain right there for us to kind of mitigate some of the Psychic Terrain damage that we'll be taking, but at the same time, it strengthens the Rising Voltage. That's why we had the Assault Vest, and we want to make sure we had the investment to take the Rising Voltage from the Specs modest Regieleki just to be safe. We also take a Scarf Darmanitan's Flare Blitz from full in this set, which is really cool. We have a ton of investment for that specifically, and at the same time, we take a modest Specs Lele Psyshock or Psychic in Psychic terrain, and we also take a +1 Jolly Kartana's Leaf Blade. Originally my set didn't have that. I had I think it was 108 in special attack, and I just moved 40 of it to defense so I can take that hit just to be safe. But the Assault Vest is there for really just to take hits, be a pivot. That's the big thing with this thing. We want to be a really good pivot to get into our notable threats, our Keldeo, our Scizor, our Dragonite, and then kind of go for a game with those ones there. That is the main goal of our Coco here. It's a very strong set. Electric Terrain helps me control the terrain against the Lele. If I can make it so it's Electric Terrain against the Lele, then Scizor can come in and Bullet Punch freely, because obviously you can't Bullet Punch a Mon in Psychic Terrain unless it's floating. So that'd be our benefit to get rid of the terrain. It's just good for us, bad for him to get rid of terrain. I'll take advantage of that any day of the week. Our next Mon is going to be our Scizor here. Now, Scizor is running a really cool set. It's something that might be familiar with a lot of you guys from the BBR finals. We are running Endure Rocky Helmets with Bullet Punch, U-Turn, and Roost. The reason I have this is because I want to chip down the Darmanitan as much as possible. The Kartana, the Landorus, the Obstagoon, anything. If I can chip those things down with Rocky Helmet, that's going to be huge for me. U-Turn gives me momentum. Bullet Punch, even though I have no attack investment, will do so much damage to the Lele. It'll probably KO after any bit of chip damage. I can't remember the exact calc at this point, but guys, it does so much damage to the Lele. If I can manage to get it out of terrain, that'd be huge for me. If I can endure on the Darmanitan going for Flare Blitz against me, it's going to take all that chip. I'm going to survive on 1 HP. It's going to take 70% from Rocky Helmet. I can Bullet Punch. It'll have to hit me again with Flare Blitz. It'll take 1 point of health and recoil. And then it'll also take 17% in Rocky Helmet, which should be enough to get the KO on that, which is awesome. This does kind of wall the Kartana, which is nice to resist both of its stab options. I'm not too worried about knockoff or about normal moves or about, I don't know, whatever other coverage you could possibly get. The set has enough investment to take 2 Timid Specs Psychics or 2 modest Scarf Focus Blasts from the Lele. And we are also not 3 KO'd by a Timid Scarf Psychic, and we also take a modest Specs Thunderbolt from the Regieleki that is not in terrain. Our next Mon is going to be our Keldeo here. Now, Keldeo has Surf, Secret Sword, Calm Mind, and Substitute. This is one of our win cons this game. It's a very strong set, kind of set up on a lot of things. If he's not running Roar on Suicune, or if we manage to get up 1 Calm Mind as he goes for Air Slash or something, then our sub isn't broken by anything this Suicune can do to me. So I feel pretty good about that. It also makes sure that if I can have a sub up against them like the Registeel or the Darmanitan on the Switch, and the Kartana comes in, or the Suicune comes in, not Suicune, but the Regieleki comes in, or a Scarf Lele comes in, I can guarantee take 1 hidden fire off either a neutral or +1 attack at worst. So I feel really good about that. Getting off that damage is going to be very massive for my team. Very much hoping that this set can be our win con this week. It has enough speed on the set for a Tapu Lele or for an Adamant Kartana, even though Kartana only reaches 109. I just want to make sure we had that little bit of leeway there just to be safe. And at +1, we take a Scarf Lele's Psychic. And we take a Timid Specs Freeze Dry from the Cryogonal, which again, I believe it needs to be Timid to outspeed me. I'm not too worried about it being modest. And we also have Secret Sword, which hits on the physical side. Moving on, our next mon is going to be our Rhyperior. Rhyperior is a must bring because of the Regieleki. If Regieleki was not here, I don't think I'd be bringing Rhyperior because he has the Kartana. He has the Scald using Dragalge. He has the Freeze Dry using Cryogonal. He has a Suicune. But I kind of have to do that. It's okay though, we do have a really strong set this week. With this set, we can take quite a few hits. We take Timid Specs Lele's Psychic. We also are the Electric Immunity for Regieleki, like I had mentioned. And we're not 3 KO'd by Darmanitan's Earthquake after our leftovers. And we take 2 Scarf Landorus's Earthquakes after our leftovers as well. Ice Punch is there for the Landorus. Earthquake is there for pretty much everything that's on the ground, which would be basically not the Cryogonal or the Landorus. Rock Blast is there for the Cryogonal, and for, I guess, things like the Darmanitan to kind of weaken it pretty well if we can afford to go for it. Honestly, I'm going to be clicking Earthquake and Ice Punch more often than not. Stealth Rock is my move choice for hazards on the first turn in there because I want to weaken the switches. You guys look at his defoggers. He has the Landorus, he has the Kartana, and then the Rapid Spin and defog on Cryogonal, but that's pretty much it. So I feel, oh, and of course Regieleki, but if I can force the Regieleki in, I go into Rhyperior. He really can't do anything to me. I have leftovers recover back the Rapid Spin damage that he does to me. So again, it's no big deal at all. Basically, Rhyperior is the perfect set for us this week, hoping that I can put in a lot of work because it definitely needs to. If this goes down, the Regieleki is still around, then I lose the game. I don't think I can win the game without that. It's crazy. Our next mon, Uxie. Uxie here takes 2 Timid Specs Lele Moonblast, sets up screens for us, and helps us win the game. Pretty much it, yeah. That's really all it needs to do. I'm not gonna lie. The Thunder Wave is there specifically for the Lele, Kartana, Darmanitan. Those are the big ones that we can paralyze. We also take 2 Timid Specs Lele Moonblasts, very nice to have. And with the Light Clay, we can manage to get up 8 turns of screens, which is going to be huge to allow our next mon and our Coco and our Keldeo to really put in work against my opponent's team. It is... oh yeah, I didn't even mention. What am I doing? We have transactions. Oh, there we go. We have transactions. We have our Uxie, which replaced the Celebi. Someone commented that Celebi is the only mon that hadn't come to the games. And yeah, it's the only mon that hasn't come. And it's not going to come to anymore. I dropped Celebi for Uxie. It was, I believe, 2 points cheaper, meaning I could also drop Drifblim for a Pokemon that was more expensive. And I now finally have a grounded poison type in the Vileplume. What is going on? Can't believe I just went over that. Insane. But you guys see, we have 2 new transactions. I think it's a lot better. Uxie just is better than Celebi because it doesn't have all those weaknesses. It is no longer a ground resist, but it is a ground immunity, which is very nice. And I already have a flying type in Dragonite, so I'm not too worried about Mold Breaker Pokemon like Mold Breaker Excadrill or something. So yeah, that is our Uxie here. Very strong set. I put the rest into my defense investment after that to take hits as best as possible from like the Landorus, from a Darmanitan, Kartana, Obstagoon, whatever the case may be. And we are pretty fast at 95 base speed, so we can manage to get up screens against a lot of different things, which I would really like to do. Our next mon, our final mon, is going to be that Dragonite here. Dragonite is our win con this week, and we are running Inner Focus Dragonite, not multi-scale, Inner Focus, and that is purposely. Why? Because Inner Focus in Gen 8 is now immune to Intimidate. So will Landorus try and come in? No, I get the +1 on my Dragon Dance. You do not put me back down to neutral. I can then fire off a dual Wing Beat, doing like 60% to you at least, and we're just in a good position. Guys, Dragonite is crazy. Oh no, damn it, I have the... That sucks. I have Light Clay there. It should be Leftovers. Leftovers is my item on this set, guys. It is still a really strong set because with Leftovers, we just recover back as much as possible. We have Sub to kind of stop us from getting O-Code from the Regieleki's Thunder or Thunderbolt or whatever the case may be, especially if it's in terrain. So we want to make sure we have that. That's Leftovers. I apologize. Our speed on the set is for Kartana while we are at +1. We also take 2 of anything from Kartana, so we can set up on that pretty effectively. Like I said, Inner Focus is immune to Intimidate. Our HP maximizes our leftovers recovery. I'm going to have a video coming out on optimizing your EVs soon enough, so make sure to stick around for that. What else is there? We also take a Specs Psychic or Psyshock from the Lele, and the rest is to my attack. And we also take a modest Specs Thunderbolt from the Regieleki. And now the spread looks very basic. It was a lot more complicated, it really was, but it just turned out that I can go with this very simple spread and kind of optimize everything. And sometimes it just shows. You don't need to go crazy off the walls to have an insane spread. But guys, that is going to be our Dragonite. It comes in, just sets up so much on so many different things. If I get up a light screen, oh, forget about it. It's going to do so much work to my opponent's team. I'm hoping this can be one of the MVPs for our game. But guys, that is going to be it for the team builder. Let's go ahead and jump right into the battle. Welcome back, everyone. So, looking at the team that Feint has brought, I'm a little surprised to see no Regieleki. Honestly, that was probably the biggest threat to my entire team outside of the Lele and the Landorus. But he does bring a couple of other really notable threats. Big ones, Darmanitan is super scary. If the Obstagoon gets a Guts boost off, then it can really rip a hole through my team because it does have access to a Fire Punch. If it's running that, it can really do a number to Scizor. Other than that, it's going to need to run like close combat to beat my Rhyperior. And the fact that Regieleki isn't here, it means my Rhyperior can be a lot more free to do kind of whatever it wants to do. Big thing I want to make sure is I control the terrain this game against the Lele with my Coco, but let's go ahead and jump into it. Leading off here, I kind of wanted to go ahead and just say fuck it and lead off with my Keldeo. I'd be able to see what he wants to really lead with and kind of go from there. So I lead off with Keldeo, and I'm going to point this out right now. This is Keldeo Resolute, and the reason I'm pointing that out is because if ever you see Keldeo with the different horn, it means it's running Secret Sword. It has to run Secret Sword if it has that horn, and it has to have that horn if it's running Secret Sword. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Anyways, he leads off with the Landorus here, and the Landorus is scary, but I have a pretty free Surf here because if he is Scarf, then he probably goes for a U-turn and he'll go into something else, and then I'll know he's Scarf. If he's not Scarf, I'll outspeed and KO with Surf. If he is Scarf and he goes for Earthquake, I'll take the hit and KO with Surf. So it's a pretty free Surf here as I can go ahead and do that as he gets off the Intimidate. We're going to fire off that Surf as he goes into his Suicune, and I have an option here. Do I want to try and set up now, or do I want to pivot around and see what's going on? My option is going to be to switch out, see kind of what he wants to do. I really don't know what he wants to do, honestly, but if he goes for Air Slash, then he will break my sub, so I don't want that happening. I go into Coco in case that's the case, but he fires off a Tailwind, which is honestly not expected. I can go for a free U-turn now. Obviously, he's going to be forced out. He's going to be afraid to go into the Landorus as he does. Could have gone for a Dazzling Gleam, but it wouldn't have 2 KO'd, so it wasn't really in like my best interest. So U-turn comes out, and I can go back into my Keldeo. Again, he'll outspeed me now, no matter what, even if he's not Scarf. But he goes for U-turn, does about 15% to me, which isn't too bad in terms of damage. And I can go for another Surf here as he goes back into the Suicune. Now here's where a bit of a misplay happens on my part. I decided to go for a Substitute here, and now this is a misplay because he can actually outspeed me, and if he goes for the, I don't know, the Surf, not the Surf, but the Scald, which he does, and gets the Burn, which thankfully he does not, we basically would have had our Keldeo be useless. It would have been at this HP at best for the rest of the game. Don't really want to deal with that, but at this point, terrain is expired. I can go for a free Calm Mind as he switches out into the Dragalge, and at this point, I can start chipping down my opponent's entire team. So looking at the Dragalge, it does resist both of the options that I have in terms of moves, but Secret Sword will hit on the physical side, which does so much more damage than the special side, and you see he's going to break my sub with the Sludge Wave. If I'm actually at the +2, there's a chance that my Substitute is not broken by that same Sludge Wave, which is key, especially because I know now that he's Black Sludge. So I'm going to switch out here. I'm going to go into my Scizor on the expected second Sludge Wave. Really, there's nothing he can do to me. He has to go for a Scald or a Flip Turn or something to get momentum on my Scizor as he goes for another Sludge Wave, meaning I can get free momentum on this thing as I can go for a very, very free U-turn. There's really not much else he wants to go for. He switches out into the Landorus. Again, we'll take the Intimidate, not a big deal, go for a U-turn, and we'll be able to do 12% to it and then go back into something like our Keldeo. Now, Keldeo is just putting in so much pressure, so much work against my opponent's team. I can go for another free Surf here. Again, Surf is completely free as he goes back into the Dragalge. And what does he do? Well, I'm going to switch out. I really don't want to deal with another Sludge Wave. I don't want to take it. I feel like a free switching back into the Scizor. And again, all he has to do is go for a Scald or a Flip Turn and get momentum on me. But what does he do? He Scalds. And does he get the burn? Because that's big if he does. He does not, thankfully. Again, that's big. I wasn't really expecting him to not get the burn, but I didn't expect him to run Scald in the first place. I thought like a Draco Meteor was coming down or something. But I U-turn out as he ends up going for the Substitute. So again, not at all what I expected. I went to Uxie because Uxie could take the Draco Meteor if necessary. I really expect him to switch out because this is going to be his Keldeo answer, and I really don't know why he was running the Substitute. Honestly, his set could have been something like Draco, Sub, Sludge Wave, and Scald, and it would have been pretty good, but at that point he's losing out in a lot of utility by having that 25% of HP to take hits from the Keldeo. Regardless, I go into Uxie here, and I have a pretty free opportunity to set up my light screen. There's really no downside to doing that right now, because if he does go for a Draco Meteor, which you guys are going to see, he is going to fire off the Draco right here, it's going to do nothing. It is less than 25% to me. That's insane. And I can now fire off a free U-turn, I believe, as he's noticing he does nothing to me now. He has no way to boost up his special attack, so I can just go for a U-turn, and we end up catching the Obstagoon, which is amazing. I can go freely into my Keldeo, which I know I will outspeed this thing, because I know it's not Scarf, and if it is Scarf, fine, it's not doing anything to me, but he is Guts with Flame Orb, and I can fire off a free Surf here. The reason I went for Surf there, honestly, probably a little bit of a misplay. I didn't really see, like, it could have helped if he went to the Landorus, but I would have outsped anyways. I think Secret Sword was the better play there. The only way it really benefited me by going for Surf over Secret Sword was if he went into the Lele, but I'm happy I went for the Surf anyways. I think it's fine that I went for it, and especially the fact that I have a light screen up now, there's really nothing that this Suicune can do to me to actually beat me 1v1, because if he had Roar, he would have used it earlier. That's 100% fact. So I go for the sub here. He is going to actually go for, I believe, the Shadow Ball here, or no, the Tailwind. Shadow Ball is his other attacking move. He's running, it looks like, Scald, Shadow Ball, Tailwind, and I think he's running Toxic, I believe, but he goes into his Dragalge here, as I managed to get to +1. So, hey, I'll take it. Get to +1 with my Keldeo, that's cool with me. I believe I'm going to try and get to +2 here, because at +2, especially with the light screen up, oh my god, we are going to do so much work to this team. There's really not much they can do, because we outspeed everything that isn't Scarfed. It's nuts. We'll be doing so much damage to everything. You guys see, Sludge Wave does not break the substitute, and I can go for a Secret Sword, and we actually don't kill the Dragalge, but it's okay because he goes for a Sludge Wave. He breaks our sub, but I can get a max HP substitute going against this Dragalge, which is nice. I do kind of weaken the, well, Tailwind runs out, which is nice, but I do run out of turns of screens this next turn here, so I go for the sub as he goes into the Suicune, and I'm thinking this is my opportunity to get to +6. Really, no reason not to. I'll be able to take hits pretty well on the special side. I'll be able to fire off hits, Oko, everything on my opponent's team. No reason for me not to get to +6, as he is going to go for a Shadow Ball over here. So this is the turn he goes for the Shadow Ball, like I was saying. Honestly, I can't believe it. It's looking like we're going to get a 6-0 here, and it's looking like Keldeo is going to pick up 6 kills. It is insanity. But we are going to be able to get to +6, and there's nothing that he can do against me. You're going to see the Shadow Ball. It's going to be like a 4-hit KO against me. At best, it's going to be a 4-hit KO against me. It's crazy. Keldeo is super bulky. This set has worked to perfection so far. We are now at +5. We're going to get to +6, as he's not going to be able to do anything to me with his Dragalge. And I believe he's going to try and break my sub here with the Sludge Wave or the Draco Meteor, and I think he actually does do it. So yeah, we're going to get back to 100% here as he Sludge Waves and he breaks my sub. If my sub was not broken there, then you're going to see this game goes a little bit differently. But I go for I go for Surf or Substitute. I go for Substitute here. That's what I go for, yeah. But I'm going to go, he goes for the Sludge Wave here, and I end up getting the KO with the Surf or the Sacred Sword on the next turn. I basically KO it the next turn. So down goes the Dragalge. Very nice. It put in a little bit of work, but honestly, it was just fodder for the Keldeo, which is crazy to think about because it resists both my stabs, and those are the only moves that I brought this game. But he goes into Darmanitan this time around. Now, this is an important play because I can kind of go one of two different routes. And I was really thinking about this play a lot during the game. Do I go for a Substitute? If I go for a Substitute expecting to go for a U-turn, then great. I'll go for sub. My sub will be broken from the U-turn because it's already been chipped down by the Sludge Wave, and then I'll have a sub up against whatever he wants to go for. Or do I just go for Surf? I settled on Surf, and the reason for that is because basically anything else on his team will get beaten by the Surf here. So he goes for Earthquake, he is Scarf, he reveals that, and we can go for a Surf and we get the KO on the Darmanitan. So Darmanitan, one of the biggest threats to our Scizor, one of the biggest threats to our Koko, ends up going down super early, which is amazing for us. It's really, really big, and we can end up doing tons of work. But he goes back into the Suicune, so I'm like, alright, so I'll get a free sub up again, so I go for a Substitute. And then, look at this, what does he go for? He clicks Roar. This guy had Roar the entire time. He let me get to +6 with my sub, Calm Mind, and Keldeo, and he clicks Roar 28 turns in after I KO 2 of his Pokemon. Okay, honestly, I'm not gonna go too long about this, but he forgot that Roar went through sub. Just so you guys remember, Roar does go through sub. Encore goes through sub. These moves, they go through sub. It's very, very valuable. You have to make sure what goes through sub and what doesn't before you're prepping for something, especially if you're worried about a sub Calm Mind or a sub Dragonance or a sub whatever Pokemon. But he roars me onto Dragonite. I'm going to go hard into my Uxie here, I believe. Uxie is the play to make because if I get burnt from the Scald, it's not the end of the world. I'd rather this get burnt than anything else, and it does get burnt. 1 in 3, it happens. And I can freely fire off. I believe I go for the Reflect here, as I expect him to double into the Obstagoon just to be safe. And then I'm going to go for a Light Screen as well. And Light Screen is helpful because in case he goes into Lele now, we can make sure we take hits from those things, nothing as well. As he does go into the Lele, we manage to get off the Light Screen, and I can fire off a very free Thunder Wave. The only way this doesn't work out for me is if he goes for a Substitute, or if he goes and crits me, or if we miss. And thankfully, he doesn't crit us, he doesn't go for a Substitute, and we connect. So the Lele is paralyzed. It is no longer a huge threat. We have our screens up. Oh my god, we are in such an amazing position. I go into Koko to change the terrain because now Psychic moves aren't going to do too much to me. He goes for Psychic. Through terrain, it does a shit ton. That's so much damage. And I'm thinking, like, it's Specs. It's gotta be Specs. But Tailwind peters out. I'm going to go for, I believe, do I go for U-turn or go for Dazzling Gleam? I go for Dazzling Gleam. And that's going to do a good chunk of damage to the lander. Start chipping it down a little bit. Go for U-turn again because I'm expecting it not to be Scarfed. And at the same time, with my Reflect up, I actually am not KO'd by the Earthquake at that range. So I wanted to kind of make that clear. It wasn't just a blind, okay, there's no risk associated with this. No, I made sure that I would not die to the Earthquake. Even if he was Life Orb, I believe I took that hit. So I'll definitely take that. I go into Scizor here. I can take whatever he wants to go for. As he goes for a Rock Polish. Crazy, right? But that's fine. I can fire off a Bullet Punch. We do enough to knock it down to a point of the Rocky Helmet chip, but he goes for a U-turn, and he didn't know I was Rocky Helmet before, but now he does, and down goes Landorus. So Scizor picks up the passive KO with the Rocky Helmet. Very huge. He goes into the Obstagoon. I'm going to pause it here because, honestly, I have a very free Bullet Punch, but at the same time, U-turn, there's no drawback to it because if he goes for Fire Punch, okay, fine. I don't need my speed on this for anything else. I really don't. We won't outspeed the Suicune. We're not going to outspeed, well, we will outspeed the Lele, but the only thing is I'm going for a Bullet Punch against that thing anyways if the Psychic terrain is not up. So what's really the reason to not go for a bullet punch or a U-turn here? Because fire punch is not going to KO me through the screens. That's kind of why I want to bring screens. We are not OHKO'd by the fire punch. He goes for fire punch, guts boosted, we take the hit, he takes Rocky Helmet chip, and we go for the U-turn, and we now get the KO on the opposite goon. So that is the second kill for the Scizor. 2 kills for Scizor, 2 kills for Keldeo. Which one will be the MVP of this battle? I think you guys can kind of guess which one it's going to be. But he's going to go into Suicune here on my what is this called? My Koko. The reason I went to Koko specifically is because there really was no drawback to doing it. If I went to Koko and he went into Suicune, all right, I fire off an electric move, we're going to do about half to it. If he goes into the Lele, I can U-turn out into something like Uxie. I can U-turn out into something like my Scizor and sack it off, or whatever the case may be. So that was the play here. I go for the Thunderbolt on the Suicune. We do nothing to it. That is pitiful damage. That's just the power of the electric terrain there. At this point in time, I believe I go for the U-turn, if I'm not mistaken. And what the U-turn is going to allow me to do is it's going to get me into something that can actually deal with the Suicune pretty well. And my choice was the Keldeo. Now Keldeo, yes, he's behind, he's in Tailwind, but I can just really go for Sacred Sword here. I believe I actually do go for the Surf first, or go for Secret Sword first. One or the other. I go for, I think a Surf here first, right? Secret Sword. Whatever, I go for Surf the next turn around. The reason I go for Surf now is because there's no reason for me to. If I go for Surf here and it doesn't 2 KO the Suicune, fine. The next attack will KO it and the tail will peter out. If he goes into the Lele, we'll 2 KO that thing. That was my mindset. So Surf will come out here as he's actually going to stay in, and he's going to fire off a Shadow Ball. He gets the special defense drop on me, not the end of the world. I go for the Surf here, and we get the enough damage to chip this thing down to the point where Secret Sword will guarantee KO it, and I can just go for the Secret Sword over here as the Tailwind will peter out on this turn, and I can now outspeed and get the KO on the Suicune, as he only has 1 mon left, and that is the Tapu Lele. And what am I going to do? Am I going to preserve the 6-0? Am I going to go for the 5-0? And what am I going to do? Well, here's my play. I'm going to switch out. I'm going to go into Koko right away. I can take the hit because I can change the terrain. That's the big thing. And I'm going to go set up screens. Why? Well, I just want to be safe. So I'm going to set up screens here with my Uxie after I change the terrain with Koko. He's going to go for the Calm Mind. So I'm like, okay, he is definitely not Specs. Very scary. Now, I'm going for the U-turn. I'm not going into Scizor directly. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I go into Scizor directly and he KOs me, then it's probably going to be something like a 4-0. If I go into Uxie, set up my screens, sack this thing off, then it'll be closer to a 5-0. Well, it will be a 5-0. So I'm going to go for the light screen. He's got paralyzed. Not the end of the world. He probably wasn't going to attack me anyway. He was probably just going to set up as much as he possibly could. Go for the Reflect here. He's going to set up once again. Honestly, we're just in a really good position all around here. There's really no way we can lose this game. We're going to die to the next burn hit. I go for a light screen here just to waste a turn because we really didn't need anything. So he's going to go for another Calm Mind. Gets the +4/+4. We die to the burn, so we don't get the 6-0, but I can go into Scizor here freely. We are behind screens, and we're going to be able to fire off a Bullet Punch, and Bullet Punch will kill this thing unless it's Babiri Berry. Is Babiri Berry? No, it is not. We get the 5-0 win. We move to 4-1 +12. We are #1 overall in the NCP this season. It is crazy how well we've done so far. Really happy with how Uxie performed in its debut week. Still kind of crazy that I forgot we made transactions to like the end of the team builder, so my bad for that. But hey guys, we did really well. There was a ton we can learn from this battle, guys. I want you guys to go down in the comments and let me know if you guys learned anything from this battle, whether it's about building or playstyle or whatever the case may be. Let me know down below. I'm answering all the questions on all of my videos. We're also on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and if we're not already there, then we're so freaking close. Just hopefully we can get there by the end of this weekend. That'd be incredible. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Go check out Kristen's side of the battle. I'm sure he'll explain a lot more than what I did for his side at least. But yeah, guys, that is going to be the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys all next time.